Dear viewers, stay tuned for another Cryptoverse weekly report. It is safe to say that the Crypto History Week is behind us, the week in which Bitcoin surpassed the much-mentioned 100K level and once again filled the headlines of the media, a good part of which had so many times declared it dead, a Ponzi scheme, a bubble, and so on and so forth. The appointment week of key people for the digital assets in the US also brought excitement. The names of the new future chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, as well as the so-called emperor for AI and cryptocurrencies in the White House are now known. And today, among other things, we bring you Bitcoin set a new record of over $103,000. What's next now after entering the price discovery phase? Trump, Atkins, Powell, and Putin are the main culprits for BTC's record. Donald Trump is slowly but surely forming his pro-crypto administration. Fantastic week for alts too. Strong bounces and new highs of some leading altcoins. So let's start the report. And so, in the days at the end of the year, Bitcoin reached six figures for the first time. The leading cryptocurrency crossed the $100,000 mark early Thursday morning and grew to a total asset worth of more than $2 trillion. BTC thus became the world's seventh largest asset by market capitalization. Giants like Meta, that is, Facebook, and Tesla are now watching Bitcoin's back, and it is very close to overtaking Alphabet, that is, Google, and Amazon. The crypto king came to this position with practically zero value in just a decade and a half. And now no one really doubts that BTC is here to stay. A sudden rise above $103,000, then a drop to below $93,000. This Bitcoin price seesaw took place in just 24 hours, and after the initial euphoria resulted in almost $1 billion in liquidations, mostly of investors with long positions, that is, those who bet on further price growth. However, despite the sharp decline that few predicted, this was a truly fantastic turning point, a crossing of a psychologically important level, after which BTC once again found itself in the so-called price discovery phase. Of course, after the new all-time high, there was massive profit-taking because everyone was a winner. Now there is likely to be a temporary consolidation, cooling the market and creating a foundation for further growth. How long the consolidation will last will of course depend on the intensity of profit booking, but according to everything, it should not be long-term. In fact, there are more and more people who now see the target price of Bitcoin for the end of the year at around $150,000, which may be a bit exaggerated, but it is not that there are no foundations for it, because the overall climate, primarily generated by high expectations from the incoming administration of Donald Trump, is extremely positive. Fundamentals are consistently strong. Demand for a leading cryptocurrency has never been higher, and available volume on exchanges has never been lower. And US spot BTC ETFs alone removed $2.35 billion worth of Bitcoin from the market this week through Thursday. Institutions are piling up, corporations are piling up, and even countries are piling up. In the context of corporations, we should of course mention MicroStrategy, the largest corporate owner of BTC, which last month set a record by adding 149,880 new Bitcoins to its balance sheet for $13.5 billion. That the strategy initiated by the company's first man, Michael Saylor, is really paying off, at least for now, is shown by the fact that MicroStrategy's stock has risen over 500% since the beginning of the year. Saylor tried to convince the leaders of Microsoft, the world's third largest company, to follow his path with a 3-minute presentation. Among other things, Saylor said that the IT giant must not allow itself to miss the next technological wave, that is, the biggest digital transformation of the 21st century, represented by Bitcoin. He believes that Microsoft can increase its market capitalization by $5 trillion if it goes all in into BTC. To illustrate, Microsoft is currently worth about $3.15 trillion. Everything will finally be decided by the company's shareholders on the 10th of this month, that is on Tuesday, and that could be one of the key events of the next week. If Microsoft really decides to follow MicroStrategy's path, it would be an incredibly powerful catalyst for the growth of not only Bitcoin, but the entire crypto market. Bitcoin is hovering between $97,000 and $98,000 at the time of making this video. So, 100K is there, just a few percent away. And when the market clears, new growth begins. While this week's arrival at a six-digit value is due to a whole set of factors that created a favorable climate for that momentum, analysts agree that the trigger was the nomination of Paul Atkins as president of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. But there are some other important players who pushed BTC to a new all-time high. Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz commented on Trump's announcement of Atkins' appointment that another crypto ally is taking a seat at the table, and that means additional momentum for the industry. Atkins is a pro-crypto libertarian who, in addition to previously working at the SEC, has co-chaired the Digital Chambers Token Alliance since 2017. Atkins' nomination suggests a very likely shift away from the SEC's current strict regulatory stance under Gary Gensler toward a more balanced approach to cryptocurrency oversight. And while the crypto community greeted the election of Donald Trump with acclamation, and investors encouraged by this news bought and pushed the price of Bitcoin, fuel was added to the fire in a positive sense by the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, breaking his silence about crypto with a rather interesting statement in which he compares Bitcoin with gold, calling it digital gold. This not only legitimized BTC as an actual mainstream asset class, but also fueled discussions on whether such statements really precede the formation of strategic Bitcoin reserves, which, as we know, is one of Donald Trump's campaign promises. If we are going to play a bit with speculation, then we can notice that Trump does not really like Powell, so it's possible that the head of the Fed could at least open the door to the formation of reserves in order to gain the sympathy of the new president. Of course, this is just a hypothesis that does not have to have any basis in reality, but it is a fact that with his statement, Powell implicitly let all traditional investors know that he considers Bitcoin to be a completely legitimate asset class. To hear such a thing from the head of the U.S. Central Bank just a year ago was completely unimaginable. But these are some new times, and 2024 is the year when crypto, and especially BTC, definitely entered the mainstream. The growth of Bitcoin was also not hindered by the statement of the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, who declared that Bitcoin cannot be banned. Of course, this should also be seen in the context of ongoing sanctions against Russia, which Moscow is trying to defy to a large extent by using crypto for cross-border payments. And while Atkins, Powell, and Putin, with of course the assistance of Trump, pushed BTC above $100,000, the future American president left another appointment, or rather, nomination for the end of the week, namely that of the pro-crypto-oriented David Sacks. The former chief operating officer of PayPal will, if he accepts Trump's offer, hold the post pompously dubbed the AI and crypto czar of the White House. Sacks should therefore form policies in two areas that Trump calls crucial to the future of American competitiveness. And last month was a record for cryptocurrency trading. For the first time, the volume on the centralized spot exchanges and derivatives exchanges crossed the $10 trillion mark. There is every chance that such turnovers will continue and even increase, because in addition to Bitcoin, the first week of December was also fantastic for alts. In fact, it seemed that if not the season, at least the preseason of altcoins was starting, but then BTC set a new record and once again drew attention to itself. Despite this, alts really turned in impressive performances this week, and mostly the biggest ones. Of course, with the exception of Ethereum, which is still quite slow and lags behind the competition in terms of performance. Nevertheless, the awakening of the sleeping giant is inevitable, and this suggests the increasingly strong confidence of investors. Its ETFs thus exceeded $1.3 billion in net inflows, and on Thursday alone, they added $428.5 million. So just a little more patience and Ethereum fans will have a field day. There is no need to doubt that. And this week's hit, at least as far as the biggest alts are concerned, is definitely XRP. One of the most popular cryptocurrencies with a strong fan base rose 40% on a weekly basis and surpassed Solana by market capitalization. At one point, XRP was even above Tether's USDT with a price above $2.80. thus positioned as the third largest cryptocurrency. Currently, Ripple's crypto is changing hands at $2.30. For comparison, on November 5th, when Americans went to the polls, XRP was worth around 60 cents. The price of XRP rose on the wings of optimism about its regulatory future after the change of administration, the newly awakened interest, but also due to the expectation of the approval of Ripple's stablecoin by the New York Department of Financial Services. At the same time, Solana spent the past week consolidating, which should not be surprising considering that 10 days ago it reached its new all-time high of $263. Let us remind you that Solana's SOL fell to only $8 at one point just 2 years ago. Those lucky ones who hit that bottom and bought it are seeing gains in excess of 30 times. And the sixth largest crypto, Binance's BNB, had a fantastic week, jumping to a new all-time high of $788, likely driven by an increase in investor activity on Binance, who rushed in to take advantage of what appeared to be a pre-season for alts. In addition, the optimism and the reason for the additional growth of BNB comes from the newly launched project on the leading DEX of the BSC chain, PancakeSwap. Springboard is a new meme creation platform that should compete with Solana's Pump Fund and result in an additional increase in demand for BNB. And indeed, on the second day after its launch, on December 4th, that is on Wednesday, Springboard already reached a one-day trading volume above $1 billion. All in all, very promising for BNB. Meanwhile, Doge recorded a weekly growth of 2% and Cardano's ADA of 10%. We should certainly mention the 11th place Tron's TRX with more than 50% plus and a new price record of 43 cents. In conclusion, the strong growth in the entire alt market, for the most part significantly higher than that of Bitcoin, denied those who doubted, given the attention that Bitcoin is attracting in this cycle, if there will even be an altcoin season. Apparently, it will, and when it comes to its final stage, it'll be explosive. The biggest weekly winners in the top 100 were Hyperliquid with a 175% plus, a completely new project that should be closely watched, followed by Jasmy, HBAR, Kaya, and EOS. And so, again with altcoins, we have come to the end of another Cryptoverse weekly report. If you liked the video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and we would also greatly appreciate if you click subscribe. Thank you for following, and kind regards.